You're listening to Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill Gaming Podcast. Here's your host, John Wall.
It's June 12th, 2025, and welcome to episode 137 of Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill video game podcast. My name is John Wall, and every Thursday morning I bring you my video game impressions, the latest industry news, and tales of a Gen X geek delivered to you in just 15 minutes. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I appreciate you being here. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 games of Summer Game Fest. But as always, we start the show by checking out some of the gaming news from this past week. And the Nintendo Switch 2 has had the biggest launch of any console in history, selling over 3.5 million units globally in its first 4 days of availability. That is a huge number of video game consoles, especially when you consider some of the talk about tariffs and high prices and the lack of big exclusive games beyond Mario Kart World. None of those issues seemed to deter people from snapping up Switch 2s as fast as they hit the shelf. To compare that to some other recent successful console launches, it took the PS4 6 weeks to reach 4.2 million, and the PS5 sold 4.4 million in its first 7 weeks. So the Switch 2 is sitting comfortably at the top of that list. Now, big launches don't necessarily tell the entire story of a console. You know, having a bit of a stockpile of hardware prior to launch certainly helped with those high numbers, and we'll see if they're able to maintain this demand throughout the rest of this year and moving forward. But with Mario Kart at launch and Donkey Kong just a few weeks away, and presumably some other, I'm guessing, big exclusive title to arrive before the end of the year, I think there are plenty of games that are going to tempt buyers to shell out those big bucks. So I think it's safe to say that Summer Game Fest has slipped into E3's slippers rather comfortably. It's not the same. It's not as big or bombastic, but it has clearly become the summer gaming event that everything revolves around. In addition to the, main event itself, multiple, if not dozens of showcases happen in the orbit of Jeff Keighley's celebration. You've got the Sony State of Play, Wholesome Direct, Xbox Showcase, Day of the Devs, PC Gaming Show. And so many more. I watched several of them, not all of them. There's only so many hours in the day, but I watched quite a few, and I've picked my 5 favorite video games of the Summer Game Fest season. So let's kick it off with number 5, and that is Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy from Asobo Studios and Focus Interactive. So after the last Plague Tale game, after the ending of that, I was pretty sure that we wouldn't be seeing another game set in this world. We weren't going to get a Plague Tale 3. So I was incredibly surprised to see the announcement for this brand new prequel taking place 15 years before Requiem. You play as I think she's a new character, Sophia. I don't recall her from the other games, but she's on the run and she travels to a mysterious island where she is being chased, and she's going to face off against deadly challenges and puzzles and enemies who are searching for her, and uncover the mystery behind a legendary curse, which sounds familiar. This game is due in 2026, and that is going to be at the very top of my list of most anticipated games of next year. In the number 4 spot is Keeper from Xbox and Double Fine. From Brutal Legend to Psychonauts, I am a big fan of Tim Schafer's quirky band of misfits. And I have loved seeing what they can do with the financial backing of Microsoft to support them. The description on their website says, quote, Keeper is a story told without words in which a long-forgotten lighthouse is awakened and joined by a spirited seabird. It embarks upon a heartening tale of unlikely companionship and an unexpected journey into realms beyond understanding. So, cool. If you saw the trailer, you know that it has all of the charm and the weirdness that you have come to expect from a Double Fine game. And Keeper comes out on PC and Xbox this October, so not too far away. My number 3 game of Summer Game Fest was the one that capped off Jeff's showcase, and that is Resident Evil Requiem, or Resident Evil 9, whatever you want to call it. This latest sequel, which comes out in February, looks to be a return to the series' origins in a lot of ways. You seem to play as a new character, Grace Ashcroft, who I think maybe has ties to characters in Resident Evil Outbreak, it sounds like, which I didn't play, so I don't know. But if you're a fan of the series, the name Ashcroft should perk your ears up. The trailer also gave us a look at the ruins of Raccoon City and the Raccoon City Police Department, so I think there's going to be plenty of ties to the original trilogy of games, which is awesome. What I'm most curious to see is if the game is going to stick to the first-person gameplay of Resident Evil 7 and 8, or use the refined third-person mechanics used in the recent remakes of RE2 and 3. Either way, I'm super excited to return to Raccoon City. In my number 2 spot, I have a piece of DLC, actually. DLC for my Game of the Year from last year. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, The Order of Giants. And this comes out on September 4th. And it dives deeper into the origins of the race of giants that were introduced and played a pretty large part in the main game. I'm not exactly sure what the scope of this DLC will be. From what I've read, it kind of sounds like, from the description, that it takes place mostly in Rome, maybe during the events of the main game. So I don't know if that sounds like it's going to be more of like a, 3 or 4 hour add-on instead of a full-blown kind of 10 plus hour expansion, but either way, I am very, very excited to jump back into that world. Bethesda Machine Games really just nailed it with that one. And my number 1 game of Summer Game Fest is Konami's Silent Hill F. First of all, I love the Silent Hill series. I have loved it since the beginning. It's had its ups and downs, but I still really love that series at heart. Second, I'm a sucker right now for games that take place in Japan. I just am. And this game takes the series to a small town in 1960s Japan and follows a teenage girl as her hometown is engulfed in fog and unleashes some truly terrifying monstrosities. And that probably sounds familiar. This game definitely has the creepy vibes down pat, but it also kind of looks like there might be a bigger focus on Combat as well, which, the series isn't exactly known for, but if they can do it well, if they can pull it off, I'm down with that. We'll see. I was really stunned by how well Bloober Team adapted Silent Hill 2. And this isn't Bloober, but we'll see if Konami's lucky streak can still continue when this drops in September. Not that far away. So, all told, I think it was a pretty solid Summer Game Fest. Not as, mind-blowing as some years past, but lots of cool stuff to get excited about. I also think that that Xbox handheld looks pretty neat. The Xbox Ally X, I think is what they called it. We'll have to see about the price on it, but I could perhaps be swayed on that one. And I'm still waiting for that big PlayStation showcase with a blowout of all their first party stuff. The State of Play was good, but man, I feel like they haven't had a big showcase in years, it feels like. And I just know when they finally show it, it's going to be nuts because there's got to be so much in the pipeline. So I would, I would rate this Games Fest a solid B, I think, Lots of radical games to look forward to. All right, a couple of things before we wrap up this week. First of all, I want to thank everybody who supported me on my walk for Crohn's and colitis research last weekend, whether through donations or just words of encouragement. We had a great time at the event, which was held at the Minnesota Vikings facilities, TCO Stadium. It was a beautiful day, lots of great people, and we raised some money for a really good cause. So thank you, everybody, for that. Second, I want to wish everybody a very happy Father's Day. Being a dad is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. It brings me absolute joy, and it brings a meaning and a purpose to my life that I never knew was possible. It's also a very tough job, whether you're a new dad and you're dealing with the late nights and the dirty diapers and expensive daycare, or your kids are older like mine, which comes with a whole other set of challenges, navigating high school and bullies and mental health challenges and social media. It can be incredibly difficult. I also think it can be tough sometimes to deal with the way, some people kind of dismiss dads. I think sometimes dads are kind of, they don't get a lot of respect. If I had $1 for every time somebody told me that I was babysitting because I was taking care of my own children while my wife was away, or the way sometimes people would act shocked because, I took my kid to the park, or, I was just spending time with them. They'd be like, wow, you are such an amazing dad. And it's like, yeah, they're my kids. Why wouldn't I want to spend time with them? It's silly. But for all that, for all the challenges, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. I have two incredible, smart, courageous, creative, and beautiful children. And being a dad is the greatest privilege of my life. So happy Father's Day to all the other dads out there who are putting in the work. And don't forget to take a moment and reflect on what an amazing gift you've been given. Thank you so much for listening to Midlife Side Quest. I really appreciate you making time in your day to hang out with me. You can catch a new episode of the show every Thursday wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. So until next time, be well and happy gaming.